Pokémon. You love it, I love it, that guy probably likes it, I don't know. Though despite this shared amour for Pokémon, we don't all like it for the same reasons, let alone the same form of it. Take me for example. One of my favorite Pokémon is Gengar. I like him because he's mischievous, he's creepy, and he's got a good design. Definitely one of my favorite ghost-type Pokémon.
You mean psychic?
Huh? No, I mean ghost-type.
There's no such thing as a ghost type. How about you read a fucking book, moron?
That's when it dawned on me. For years I've been thinking of Pokemon in the gaming anime sense. Pidgeot is a flying normal type, Emboar is a firefighting type, and Gengar is a f***ing ghost. Though depending on the form of Pokemon that you become most familiar with, these facts aren't as rock solid. In the trading card game, there is no ghost, bug, ice, flying, rock, ground, poison, or fairy. At least, not anymore for that last one. The TCG only has the main typings of fire, water, grass, electric, steel, dark, psychic, and colorless. Not normal. Colorless. And so when someone who's only ever really been exposed to the TCG says Gengar is their favorite psychic type, to me it just feels wrong, as I'm sure it does to them when I say that Arbok is a cool poison type Pokemon. This is all to say that not every form of Pokemon is as universal as I had once thought. And much like how every Pokemon has at least one person who is their #1 fan, every form of Pokemon has their own logic and in turn reasoning as to why an individual Pokemon may be someone's most loved or most hated. Like right now, Gyarados, Ampharos, and Gardevoir are some of the meta pick juggernauts when it comes to ZA Battle Club ranked battles in the newest Legends game. However, if you're playing TCG Pocket, the motherfuckers you're looking out for are Suicune, Greninja, or most of the new Megas, which might change by the time this video goes up, but I digress. If we move over to Pokemon Go, which somehow has a thriving competitive community, then the bastards at the top are Zacian, Zamazenta, and Shadow Salamence. Point is, depending on the form of Pokemon you are intaking, your choices as to who is a Dripmon and who's a Shitmon may vary. If you're a fan of the cards, you probably have a soft spot for Slowpoke because of that one Tonica card. If you like the games, then you probably hate Pikachu for that one time he actually said his name. I find this incredibly interesting because you can not only learn a lot about a person based on their favorite Pokemon, but you can find out even more about a person from the reasons they like said Pokemon, which to me is the most interesting difference between the fan bases of different corners of Pokemon. I like Toxapex because it's a wall of a Pokemon with access to a lot of setup moves and it has a dope ass design. Based off that information, you now know that I like set play and methodical approaches. I like the leisure of making my opponent think because I'm not smart and I'm a sucker for edgy looking shit, so I'm probably gay. Though aren't all Pokemon fans? Whereas my friend Brandon, who has never touched a Pokemon game in his life and playing 10 minutes of Platinum doesn't count, likes Lucario. That means he probably hasn't had much investment in the games or TCG, watches anime out the wazoo, and likes things that are cool and sleek. Unlike him. Hey. Someone who's more interested in the TCG will probably have a very different fundamental understanding of Pokemon, such as deck building knowledge, good online navigation to trade or sell cards, and virginity. Someone who plays a lot of Pokemon Go is probably pretty familiar with their city or town, are decent with directions, and they are probably virgins. Someone like me, who enjoys the video games, is most likely batshit insane, obsessive, and are definitely virgins. No exceptions. None. Now, of course, this is all backed by my crazy perspective on people, and has absolutely no science to back it up. I just think it makes sense. Though, I do feel that this goes even deeper. It's not as simple as basement nerd, friendless nerd, and nerd who touches grass occasionally. Because, and this one's a mind blower, this shit intertwined. In 1996 and 1998 to 1999, yes, I'm giving a history lesson, please pay attention, Pokemon debuted in Japan and the United States respectively, alongside the release of the Pokemon trading card game. Due to the coinciding release of these two properties, many OG fans of the series have at least some knowledge of one or the other, regardless of which route they ended up committing to. Video game players got a taste of the cards and probably owned a few growing up but never really took to them, unlike the TCG players who didn't really find the games any fun and found the real sauce in the trading cards. Then there are those who only watch the anime, and they probably moved on to better things after a while. However, due to all the words I just said, the video game players and the trading card players have always somewhat gone hand in hand. If you've played the games, you've probably owned a couple cards, and already knew Gengar was a psychic type in the medium, so you think I'm an idiot for not knowing. If you've collected the cards your whole life, then you probably already knew Gengar was a ghost type in the games, so you also think I'm an idiot. This proves 3 things. 1, I'm an idiot. 2, these things are not as separate as I implied in the beginning, and 3, you guys are rude. Characters that appear exclusively within the games also appear within the TCG, like Red, Wally, and Hilda, so they do share a lot of the same characters and continuity, which makes hopping over to the TCG a lot simpler if you're primarily a video game player, and vice versa. That is, until you get to the items and overall strategy. Then you'll feel like you're in some twisted version of Pokemon where apparently anything gets made because f*** it. Why not make a contraption that's literally a megaphone that just scares the shit out of a whole team, forcing them to drop their items, or whatever the hell this is? That is the key difference I'm trying to get at. Strategy and understanding. Obviously, because these games are different, games, they're going to require different approaches in knowledge, though the layers of said knowledge are so incredibly unforgivingly different. Do you know how many times I've stunned an electric type Pokemon, done neutral damage to a water type, or hit a dragon type with an ice Pokemon with no advantage? The countless years I've spent learning type matchups just got thrown out the fucking window because these bastards have damn near condensed every type and your typical weaknesses or advantages just don't exist. It genuinely broke my brain at first. At least Pokemon Go keeps the dual typings and stays true to the more traditional type advantages seen in the mainline games. By the way, if you haven't noticed, you're a little halfway through this video, so why not consider leaving a like or subscribing? It really helps me out. Thanks. Speaking of Go, I feel like I haven't talked about it enough, so let's do that now. To me, Pokemon Go is a different beast entirely. It pretends to be a Pokemon game until you realize that in battles, speed is king. Also, how fast you can and catching a handful of Pokemon isn't good enough. I mean, sure you got the candies mechanic, whatever, but also like the dex counts everything. Lucky, Purified, Shadow, 4-star, XXL, XXS, and then shiny Pokemon. Trying to complete that thing is like a never-ending nightmare. Also, you have dailies that absolutely need to get completed if you plan on playing the game for more than an hour, and quests out the yin-yang that give you too many excuses to get outside. It may sound like I'm complaining, and that's because I am, but Pokemon Go is just another creature with a coat of Pokemon's paint slathered over it. I'm sure I don't need to explain the intricacies of how many different forms of Pokemon there are to catch, nor the ins and outs of gameplay to you, but as a diehard Pokemon fan with too much free time, I feel like Pokemon Go just takes a different type of to enjoy that day in and day out. Now don't get me wrong, I have that installed, and I'm level 47 as of the writing of this video, although sometimes I need to take a big, long break from the game before I feel like diving back into the thousands of quests I've yet to complete. I kind of went on a tangent there. This game is different. Where is my RPG experience? Or my polls? Huh? Now this is a game that is different. Instead of a classic 1v1 or Pokemon on the bench, this game is instead played in a 3v3 format. Although you have sync moves, pair bonuses, and rolls, this game honestly has the most typical stuff that you'd expect from a Pokemon game, but it kind of mashes in a lot of its own stuff. This game feels like the culmination of every form of Pokemon on the market right now. You have gacha and supports like the TCG, typings and general combat like the mainline games, and interactions with characters you've pulled like Zenless Zone Zero. I don't fucking know. I'm not a gacha hater, nor am I a #1 gacha lover, but this game just feels like something from a timeline where Pokemon isn't as well known. Everything is voiced, which yes, is appreciated and a standard in gacha, but not a standard for Pokemon. They've been cutting corners in the mainline games for years, so why do it for this gacha game? The fans who exclusively get their Pokemon filled through this game must be eating so good and have such a good perspective on the Pokemon company as a whole. To be honest, I've only played like an hour of this game before uninstalling, but that hour alone, along with some research I've done, was enough to convince me that this game just isn't for me. Yes, the voice acting is cool, yes, seeing iconic characters pull up and have charming interactions is dope, but it's just not my thing. I'll keep chilling with Pokemon Shuffle. There's just way too much going on, and I do not have the attention span to get to a point where I feel like the content is worthwhile. This game is certainly made for a certain type of Pokemon fan. I like something stimulating, but not too much so with my spin-offs. I like a game that holds my hand but lets me go on adventures when I want it, which sounds like just the job for Pokémon Unite. You know how Dragon Ball recently made its own MOBA that's a little dumbed down compared to your traditional MOBA? Well, this is the same thing, seemingly dumbed even further down, and it's like NBA Jam. I'm convinced the fans playing this game like Pokemon, but would rather play anything than the actual mainline titles. The game does have a lot of charming qualities about it, Pokemon and outfits, fun cooperative gameplay. It's a good time all around, though this is the least Pokemon anything to have ever come into existence. Even Battle Troze has type advantages, but I get it. Pokemon Unite would need to have one hell of a roster if type advantages were a thing, and the game overall would probably need to be tweaked in a lot of different ways. It just feels like the only thing Pokemon about this game is the fact that Pokemon appear at all. Obviously that's not enough to stop me from playing, but certainly is something I can't help but think of as strange. As I previously mentioned, the fans of this game seem to like Pokemon but want nothing to do with the main stuff, and the game seems to cater towards the audience hardcore. Like, remember that time Cinderace was a pirate? Me neither. Or that time Dodrio had that shit on? Oh wait, he's right there. This is all to say that Pokemon Unite does a great job of expanding the Pokemon audience, and once again, I am too much of a Poke normie to understand the appeal. So, even if Gengar is your favorite psychic type, even though it's a ghost, or if you like Greedent because he's a one-shot cannon, there's nothing wrong with liking Pokemon for the sake of liking Pokemon. You don't have to know every type of every form of Pokemon, you don't have to understand every complex battle-related intricacy. As long as you enjoy whatever it is you enjoy, not just Pokemon, for your own reasons, then that's all that matters. Unless your chase card is that one Acerola card, then I will hunt your perverted ass to the ends of the earth.